세션의 진행을 맡아주실 좌장님을 소개해드리겠습니다. 전용욱 제주한라대학교 부총장님입니다. 부총장님께서는 현재 제주한라대학교 부총장과 서울대학교 경영대학 특임교수로 활동을 하고 있으며 숙명여자대학교 미래교육원장, 세종대학교 부총장, 우송대학교 부총장, 솔브리지 국제경영대학원 원장 등을 역임하였습니다. 또한 하이닉스, 삼성전자, 현대자동차 및 SK텔레콤을 포함한 많은 주요 기업의 비상임이사 및 컨설턴트로 근무하였습니다.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 17th Jeju Forum. Thank you for joining us today for, in the era of conflicts, the future of international finance and cooperation among Northeast Asian countries. Simultaneous interpretation is available for this session. For service in Korean, set your device on channel 1. For English, select channel 2. Now I would like to hand over the stage to Jeon Young-wook. Everyone, please welcome the moderator.
Thank you so much. And this is my personal honor to preside this very important session with you. Okay, today we have very prominent professors and scholars from China, Japan, and Korea. And this is really a great opportunity to learn from them what's going on in international financial environment. As you see, today's topic is the future of international finance and cooperation among Northeastern countries. That means Korea, Japan, and China. You may witness very big changes in international financial environment these days. I can make about three different but distinct changes in the environment. The first one, as you see, the sharply increasing the interest rate. Many of you may suffer from those changes already in the Korean financial community too. But this interest change, big hike activated by the US Fed. I think one of the recent event was they increased the interest rate not 0.25, but in one shot, 0.75, that we call giant step. This kind of big change started from the US, will be spread all over the world. And that will depress the economies of the Asian countries. So all the business community in Korea, maybe in China and Japan will suffer from this sudden increase in interest rate. So this is really a big challenge. The second major event that is going to affect our economic conditions is the Ukraine war between Ukraine and Russia. And this is a political war, but Japan and Korea take side with US, whereas China takes side with Russia. So even among the Northeastern three important countries, Japan and Korea with the US and China with Russia, and this potential conflict among these three countries on this issue will have some negative impact on international finance community and particularly in Asia. So that's the second concern. And the third big change is the rise of the MZ generation. You know MZ generation, the millennials and Generation Z. Those are the born between 1980 and 2000. So these new people is important, group of the new financial consumers, very comfortable with the fintech. So the rise of this new generation will be a challenge to traditional financial industries. So these are the things that I find very threatening and worrisome to the financial community and economic community in three countries in Northeast Asia. So I hope today's session may provide some directions and solutions for these three imminent challenges faced by the government policymakers and financial communities. So I have very high expectation to hear the wisdoms from the two speakers and three discussants from the northeastern countries. As a chairperson of this session, I have to do the time management very accurately. So I ask two main speakers, Dr. Sonu and Dr. Yoon, spend 15 minutes and three discussions, including two international scholars from China and Japan, spend 7 minutes each. So we have three discussions, and then I'll spend some time with the audience. So I open the floor, and we can have about 15-minute Q&A sessions, right? So that's my rough ground rule for running this session. The official language will be in English, but depending on the speakers, you are free to speak either Korean or English, and so that's up to you. And I'll give you, over here we have the timekeeper, so when you speak, please watch the timekeeper so that you can meet the time. And we have today one speaker only, Dr. Yoon will be offline, and the one discussant, Dr. Lee. But one speaker and two discussants will be online. So I'll start with the Professor Sonu Soko as first speaker, and he has 15 minutes. So, okay, you are ready. But before his speech, I want to introduce Professor Sonu Soko briefly. He is one of the most distinguished scholar in the Korean Finance Academy Society, and he is serving right now chairman of the board of the largest Korean financial group, that is KB Financial Group. That's the largest in Korea, and he's serving right now as chairperson. And he's also a professor emeritus at the Hongik University, and he also served as ex-president of a Korean Finance Association, which is the largest and most prominent academic association in Korea. And he got his PhD from Wharton School and MBA from Northwestern University. So here is Dr. Sonu, and welcome him, please. Thank you. So you have 15 minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Chung, for your nice introduction for myself. Before presenting my keynote speech, I would like to thank the Halla University for inviting me to this important session of the Jeju Forum as a speaker, and also thank the three participants as commentator of this session. As seen in this title, The Era of Conflicts, the Future of Finance and Cooperation among East Asian Countries, I will talk about the current situation of the global finance and potential conflicts among China, Japan, and Korea first. And then I will introduce finance issues which three countries may confront commonly in this coming decades. I picked 5 topics for this session. First, two topics are more macroeconomic issues. Other three topics are relatively micro issues. Let's move to first topic. Global finance is facing a turning point in 2022. As the Federal Reserve is preemptively increasing interest rate very fast, the era of long-term low-rate interest rate is coming to an end. This year, we'll see the beginning of a slow withdrawal of mass liquidity that has accumulated over decades. As a result, Fed funds rate of the United States is expected to move toward 4% at the end of this year and might increase to so-called neutral rate level of 7% within 2 years. The purpose of interest rate is to fight inflation. Let me explain the factors of raising inflation rate, that is CPI growth rate. There are two sides. One side is demand side. The first one is too much liquidity in the financial market and the zero interest rate. The second demand side is the poor employment. The labor market is very hot. The three is that after corona pandemic, there should be retaliatory spending after corona. But the supply side, there has been a supply chain disruption after US and China conflict. The second is tight currency policy in China disrupt supply chain system greatly. The third one is the price hike of oil, crops, and other raw materials. Let's see afterwards what's going to happen. We'll see the 97 experience. This graph shows only 1980s period. That we call this Holbrook period. With 80 to 83, the dark blue line is that the funds rate. That is the central bank interest rate, discount rate. That was very high until the 8% high, and then 7% is low. But the CPI growth rate, the red line, was stabilized after middle of 1982. So we considering the 1970 and 87 experience, it may take 3 to 5 years to come down inflation rate to around 2% again. Let's see the consequence of the funds rate hike. The first one is strong dollars. Countries that are not prepared for an outflow are expected to face a sharp devaluation of their currencies. Recently, the other issues, the Argentina experienced a lot of depreciation in their currencies. These countries adopted different interest policy depending its condition, domestic condition, level of devaluation of the currency to provide countries. Korea competes in many product markets, China and Japan, especially with Japan. They argue that two countries may manipulate export price by maintaining low interest rate, which results in currency value depreciation. And we emphasize the Korea situation, that if Korea loses economic health and is the sustained great credit deficit, bankruptcy of major companies, inadequate dollar reserve, etc. That can happen then. The carry trade from Korea may happen in short period. It's happened in Asian finance crisis in the period of 1980s, 97, 98. So I suggest the three suggestions to reduce the conflict among three countries and concern. The first one is the establishment of a direct dialogue channel among high-level finance authorities, which are Minister of Finance and the central level chairperson level among three countries to eliminate misunderstanding regarding interest rate policies. The second suggestion is finance yuan and yen-based trading to reduce dollar dependence. Number three, the third suggestion is to contract currency swaps among three countries to stabilize currency value. There are $1 swap, $1 swap. Let's move to second topic. A new Cold War has arrived following Russian invasion of Korea. While Korea and Japan accused Russia of war crimes opposite to the Chinese punishment, and USA makes a technology coalition with Korea and Japan, isolating China, new tension built up in this situation. Conflict among three countries on security matters accelerate the conflict in economic recession through the highly protective trade measures and the supply chain disruption. I just suggest that the national leaders must be very cautious in presenting secret issues, which should not result in total economic disaster, which is direct to us, people, and the private sectors. Now let's move to third topic. The topic shows the new normal during after program. There is a trend towards consumers of financial products of post-pandemic eras, particularly millennial and Generation Z, so-called MZ generation, to work home and under finance through their social media companies that have become so familiar with them. It's no exaggeration to say that traditional financial industry is rushing to a competition to decide whose platform will be used by this generation. This situation calls for revolution in this rapid creation of new way of revenue by traditional financial companies in this phase of change to economic structures while reducing costs and maintaining market share. For financial institutions have to make a full change to survive. The first one is the digital transformation. First, digital transformation, platform-oriented, artificial intelligence employed, that customer can have fun with So they need the data for consumer. The second change is the competition with big companies. They have huge market capitalizations. Number three is that they should find the global new market, so they globalization with domestic market saturations. Number four is the extension of this to non-financial areas, such as healthcare, tourism, etc. Let's move to ESG issues.
You have 2 minutes.
The financial institutions are under big pressure regarding ESG issues. Among environmental, social, and governance problems, environment is the hardest. We are facing an unstable future regarding environmental challenges, resource depletion, while for the financial industry to take a leading role in environmental problems, especially the carbon emission problem. As a result, the nuclear power plant will inevitably take on a more important role in the country with zero carbon by 2050. This graph shows that the heavy nuclear power plant locations. You see the black dot point shows that large scale nuclear power plant. As you see in this graph, you see the most of the heavy power plants are located in the shorelines. But the problem is that as we expect the large-scale nuclear power plant to be constructed more densely in China alongside the coastal area, concern is rising on safety. Public sector and finance industry must contribute in some way to ensure the safety of nuclear power plant installation. On the other hand, the small modular nuclear reactors, so-called SMRs, should be evaluated as the complementary power to the largest scale one, since they solve most of the safety problems which large scale reactors have. So finance should function to move money into developing SMR technology, new technologies. Now move to our last topics. The group's attention is also being drawn to cryptocurrency built on blockchain technology and CDD, central bank digital currency, cyber terrorism. These issues also in intergovernmental discussion. For the past 5 years, DeFi, the decentralized finance market, rises exponentially in terms of total value and number of market participants. But recently, well-known stablecoin, Luna and Halla, developed by one venture company, collapsed in value in one day run, as it appears in one type of funding. Now, credibility on cryptocurrency now in question. But the most fundamental is that the managing company was not able to get a less result with central bank deposit insurance company doing the fiat money system when a bank run happens. As expected, the DeFi market sustain for a long period. Ecosystem on this market must get established. We should discuss whether developing CBDCs are the replacement for cryptocurrency or replacement for the fiat money, and we should identify the positive function of those CBDCs. There are some worries on CBDCs. First one is they should current bank function as a move to central bank, and also they have created dreadful authoritarian government because the CBD carries all the transaction information center. Finally, the cyber threat is represented as a future concern for all, especially for big financial intermediaries and exchanges. Yet we develop a logic to break our financial system before quantum computer fully developed. National level coalition may be needed soon. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much. And you picked up 5 very important issues. They may affect the international finance community these days. And he also provided very appropriate, suggestions and solutions for 3 countries. Thank you. And today is Dr. Sonu's birthday. Congratulations on your birthday. Okay. Now I want to move to the next keynote speaker, Dr. Yoon Seok-hyun. And he's, as you know, not only academician, but also he used to be a policymaker in Korean financial community. He used to be one of the top senior scholars in finance area, and he published many famous articles in JBF, Journal of Bank and Finance, very prestigious journal, and Journal of Risk and Insurance. And he got best paper awards both in Korea and the US. But one of his prime time in his career was he was the former governor of Financial Supervisory Service, we call FSS, and which is controlling banking, insurance, and security industries in Korea. So he was at the top of the most influential financial institution in Korea. He got his PhD from Kellogg School of Northwestern University, and here is Dr. Yoon. Please give him a big hands. So please keep the time, 15 minutes, please.
Thank you. Thank you for a very kind introduction. And happy birthday to Dr. Sonu. While Dr. Sonu very well summarized the environmental changes occurring these days and also presented a very nice background for my presentation, I kind of try to change the subject a little bit, and I try to focus more on this Jeju island, because this is the Jeju Forum. I'd like to speak about the establishment of the Jeju International Financial Center on this Jeju province. The idea of establishing this Jeju International Finance Center is not new, as you might have already know. Actually, it has been here for almost 20 years by now, as far as I know. I'm just trying to revive it, as it fits well with the 2 main themes of this year's Jeju Forum, that is, coexistence and cooperation. The idea is very simple. As far as I see, the basic 2 themes just mentioned can come true, at least in finance, by making markets and through cooperation. By making markets, we can expand the perimeter of coexistence, and through cooperation, we can do things better. At the starting point, I'd like to also mention that my presentation is slightly different from the traditional approach, in the sense that while they have employed a commercial approach, I am adding an intermediary perspective a little bit to it, in that the center, Jeju International Financial Center, can be seen as providing some kind of intermediation service to nearby Asian countries. Here, Asia means not necessarily China, Korea, Japan. It also means Southeast Asian countries. This is the contents, so I'll pass. Let me now briefly characterize the Jeju International Financial Center as well as Asian Universal Banks. This is the terminology that I have used for hypothetical purpose for this presentation. First, the JIFC. I'll refer to that as the center from now on. The main function of the center is to play a pivot role in channeling the money from savers in developed countries, Asian countries, to their demand by these savers in developing Asian countries. It has the following characteristics. First, it has the clean image of Jeju, which will help play the pivot role quite effectively, especially in times when climate and transition finances are in desperate need. Yesterday, I saw a brochure stating Jeju's policy to become a carbon-free island by 2030. I was very glad to see that because that perfectly fits some things that I try to propose here. It will definitely help Jeju Island, or the center will provide some intermediary services to the nearby countries in need of those kind of financial services. Second, its location is quite appropriate for making use of a regulatory sandbox, as it is off the Han Peninsula amidst Northeast Asian countries known for their restrictive financial regulations. The hypothetical bank in operation will have the following characteristics. First, it can freely choose from a full spectrum of a typical universal bank. Universal bank here means that a bank can do both commercial banking and investment banking, which means basically that the bank has a lot of freedom to do whatever they want to do to satisfy their customers. Second, offshore banking is allowed, although one may well consider both offshore and onshore banking at the beginning. Third, the bank will be subject to strict rules and regulations to maintain clean image. Actually, that's associated with this Jeju Island, and try to take advantage of it, and good reputation against money laundering, tax evasion, and financing of crimes associated with traditional offshore financial centers. And so, in that sense, things that I am proposing here is kind of a new, different from the traditional concept of offshore banking, which have all of these bad things associated with it. Although you are well aware, let me briefly make some comments on the SWOT. And this is actually for the center. The first and foremost strength is its location, as I mentioned earlier. It is perfect for a pivot, has a clean image, and off the Han Peninsula to be used as a regulatory sandbox, as mentioned earlier. A number of weaknesses too. The lack of infrastructure is a big one. However, given that Korea is well advanced in this respect, I'm not very much concerned. The lack of information regarding the creditworthiness of potential borrowers from developing countries can be a bigger weakness going forward. Taxation issues is kind of a difficult thing to overcome, but we need to pay more attention to that. Third, high growth potential of developing countries gives rise to a high demand for loan funds. This would be coupled with the demand for fintech-related financial services in their digital transformation endeavor. Fourth, bad reputation associated with the offshore financial centers due to taxation, money laundering, etc., are burdensome. Potential conflicts arising these days between China and US, mentioned earlier by Dr. Sonu, and is an ongoing threat. Competition from DeFi. DeFi means decentralized finance. This is kind of a recent fad in the fintech section of finance. It's something to pay attention to. I now turn to the building issue of building infrastructure need. Here I am talking about infrastructures in the financial sector only. First, it is essential that Jeju provincial government should take the initiative in all of these efforts. Help from the central government is a must. Together, they need to design and establish an authority or two in charge of financial supervision, taxation, and deposit insurance for a sound and prudential financial system. Participation by neighboring countries in cooperative provision of the system are highly desirable. Some help from ADB, AIIB, World Bank, and the IMF are also highly desirable. Given the time constraint, I'd rather pass this next issue, something about demand and supply. Actually, I have mentioned most of these issues earlier in the discussion of SWOT, so I'll pass. And then I'll go directly to the link to the preceding presentation. This is regarding the role of Jeju International Financial Center dealing with changes in the environment. And while Dr. Sono has focused relatively the recent phenomenon, my interest is rather on the long run aspect of it, aspect of them, and what will happen to the longevity of this Jeju International Financial Center, given the turmoil environment happening these days. I'll pick 5 issues from the earlier discussion. And the first is the inflationary thing. One thing we learned from the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine is the need to have a stable supply of energy and agri-food products and, of course, their prices. So in the long run, the center should focus more on the long-run preservation of agri-food supplies as well as the stability of their prices. Second, the existence of differential interest rates between the developed and developing economies proves the market's differing expectations as to the future economic growth rates between them. This implies that there is a room for financial intermediation on the part of the center. Third, the demand for digital transformation by micro, small, medium enterprises in developing countries is expected to grow, potentially giving rise to new innovations in them and hence finance. Examples include Alipay in China, WeChat also in China, Grab in Singapore, Gojek in Indonesia, and Kakao in Korea. The center shall provide the necessary technologies to get things for them, only to produce new innovations, hopefully in the near future. Fourth, competition will get tougher and regulation will get stronger in both DeFi, decentralized finance, and offshore finance as well, that we are interested. The role of the center follows to become more significant in this regard. Fifth, as the net zero target becomes harder to achieve as time goes by, the role of the center is believed to become greater and more valuable. To conclude, I have briefly discussed the establishment of the Jeju International Financial Center on this Jeju island. And by making markets like the center, we can actually expand the perimeter of coexistence actually to the whole of Asia and hopefully to the globe. And then together we can do better through cooperation and the expanded perimeter. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your keeping time. And Dr. Yoon quite impressively suggested the establishment of Jeju International Finance Center. And he suggested the rationale why we need that. Given the changes in international financial environment raised by the Dr. Sonu. So there's a good linkage between the first speaker and second speaker. And also, he adopted the main theme of this Jeju Forum, coexistence and cooperation. And in that context, Jeju International Finance Center is so much important for all the concerned countries. Thank you for your very practical and appropriate suggestions. Thank you. And I hope that he will be elected the first president of the Jeju International Finance Center if it is ever established. I hope. Okay, now let's turn to our international discussants from China and Japan. We have Professor Watanabe and we have Professor Shi. But in the gentleman's code, I will pick the Professor Z as first speaker, following the ladies first rule, okay? So we respect ladies, and I want Professor C to speak on 7 minutes on the issues that is raised. Professor C, Juan, I don't know how to pronounce your name correctly. She's from Nankai University in China, and he's professor in international economics. But her main research focus is international trade policy. But recently, she has expanded her research scope on the digital infrastructure on trade. So what is the effect of the changing digital transformation on the trade issues? So she's linking her main, the research area with the new changes in digital age. So it's very, we are anxious to hear from you for the next 7 minutes. But when you speak, please, sit close to the PC so that we can listen well, okay? Sometimes the microphone is an issue, so please speak in front of the PC closer. Thank you. So let's invite Professor C.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice President Zhu, for, I'm very glad to be invited to attend this forum. I listened to the other two professors for the international finance, maybe in a way of the macro point of view. Since I was invited by my colleague, Professor Yuan, who worked in your university for, I'm not sure, for 5 years. So my speech is not very academical research, but only like a case study, which I, with my students, graduate students, and a PhD for the application of the blockchain during my summer vacation to do these cases. So today I will have 4 parts. Since now the development of international trade and the trade finance has enormously grown in world trade, in which the traditional trade finance, such as forfeiting and documentary bill or some discount on draft, has been dominated in foreign trade, especially in China, even as the largest country in import-export, but is only focused on the trade finance way, which happened to some of the process in import-export business. While the structured trade finance, like the a full amount of pledge, just now maybe Professor Sona mentioned that, were very useful for the trade finance. It has not been paid enough attention as a flexible way of trade finance. However, with the introduction of electronic technology, especially for the e-commerce, developed very fast. So it has enlarged from the visible trade to invisible trade, and it can overcome the shortage of traditional way to serve single enterprises, right? So we say combine the blockchain with trade finance is the integrity innovation from starting the existing financing mode to form a new platform. We call it the blockchain plus trade finance. So even my topic maybe is not exactly with the the main topic of this forum, like a 3 country to try to solve some problem of the macroeconomic growth. But I think by the way of application, of application of blockchain, I think we can find some way to enhance the economy and international trade under the very terrible condition of COVID-19 and the big depression in the world. So it aims to combine. Oh, sorry, I cannot find this, right? Yeah. So combine the blockchain with trade finance is the integrity innovation from starting the existing financing mode to the blockchain plus trade finance, right? So we usually say a lot of problems or difficulties. We call that some pain spots. When I visit some company in China during this summer vacation to talk about with the leader or the president or the manager to talk about some pain spots in trade financing progress, such as fake documents, repeated financing, and the information asymmetry. So various financial institutions can transform the data into the platform to verify quickly and match safely the financing information. So usually in international trade, we have lots of problems in finance, in logistics. Here we show only some of them. And also we know the difference between traditional finance or the way of traditional and structured finance. So some pain here, a lot of company lack of capital during the economic depression, and also some poor security of financial support. So we try to find some way by blockchain in international trade. So first is how we'll conduct with the blockchain in import and export business. As we know, several parts, such as the importer and exporter, or even the administration, like the Department of the Commerce, or some inspection institution, and of course the important supervised institutions, customs. So they are usually involved in the whole process of foreign trade transaction under the international contract. As a result, the transaction costs are high, and it takes quite a long time for the commodity moving from the seller to the buyer, right? By the way of new digital technology, especially the blockchain service, that can lead to eliminate some intermediate cost and improve the efficiency of trade finance. So I'd like to take the specific company in China, which I visited during my summer vacation, called is the Guiguan Gongsuisi Microtech Corporation as an example to see how blockchain applies to the trade finance and what's the mode of it. Just now I mentioned that I visited this company with my students to find that it was founded in the first year of blockchain application in 2018. So only 1 year, in April 2019, this company developed a blockchain cross-border trade project. Maybe we call that is the direct train in Chinese. Maybe easily understand. I'm not sure whether I can make it clear. So, which is the first application of blockchain in cross-border trade for the whole or the full business process in China. Even I think in 2019 is the one of the earliest. I'm not so sure whether in Japan or in Korea for the blockchain application in the whole import-export process has been achieved or not. So it is to achieve all trusted data information happened during the transaction, commodity, finance, logistics, supervision of the four domains in the whole trade process chain, so that can realize mutual trust, mutual sharing the information, and of course the interconnectivity. So besides the buyer, importer, or supplier, the other participants, especially for bank and insurance company, will, by the application of blockchain as the decentralized third party and the FIRE platform, this company as the third party construct and develop this cross-border trade blockchain infrastructure to provide comprehensive blockchain digital service, such as cross validation and what we call that certification and traceability of business data for all parties involved in cross-border trade, and became a new position of inclusive finance for enterprises credit expansion, and financial large loan by financial institutions, technology, and credit granting, and future goods rights finance. So this is, I think it's a simple figure to interpret how the company make up the whole chain for all the participants in the international trade. So this company was approved by China Customs to be as instruments for trade process supervision. Besides this, the blockchain application scenarios like the, parallel import automobile in Tianjin, my city, my university is Nankai University in Tianjin, China. This company set up the first blockchain for the special case of importing automobile. That's kind of quite different from the general trade, like importing trade from Japan, a lot of Japan automobile here in China, but it's something like importer will buy from the individuals in Japan or in the Western country, I mean, America or some country in Europe. So this company not only focus on the trade finance and international trade application, but also have some other project like health global digital trade medical chain. That's kinds of chain connected with the medical products and by digital trade. In Nanjing, another city in China, in Jiangsu province, and also have another platform for the delivery business like logistics. Next, I like to say that kinds of blockchain, how to work with the structure finance.
Dr. C, you have just 1 minute to close up.
Okay.
Time is up.
I speak too much of the specific thing. Okay. So it's a kinds of advantage of structured finance is well reflected in blockchain system. So with the increased type and the number of participants in the chain, the cost benefits advantage will be more pronounced by digital encryption technology and point-to-point communication. That's a different way on and the characteristics of the blockchain is work to or adapt to the structure finance. So this is another picture of the how does the blockchain work. I'm sorry for kind of not control the time properly. So I just say like what I described. Another figure maybe is this figure is based on the blockchain technology service. So let's look at some points on the development of the blockchain based on the traditional finance. Maybe as everybody know that the international trade by, for example, letter of credit, of course, the blockchain also used in the traditional trade finance by under the letter of credit transaction. So from what I talk about the blockchain application, we can find 3 points here for the advantage. One is save time, and the information will be verified in the same chain and platform. The second is to enlarge the margin of trade finance. That means not only the importer and exporter, but the whole participants in the whole chain. And also the last and most important thing is they save the capital or reduce the capital cost. This show that the characteristic of the blockchain adapted to the the trade financing. So here, everybody knows that's the characteristic of blockchain, right? So my conclusion is blockchain can help the international trade more efficient, or especially for the trade finance. And all participants in this chain can go to the digital their activity. And of course, there are some problems existed because blockchain application is under development. So I just put forward my understanding on the application and model of blockchain technology in fields of the international trade finance, and only share some simple idea with you, and hope that will give some reference or in the future research. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry that I couldn't provide you ample time for you to speak on very important topic on this blockchain application on the trade-related finance. That's a very fantastic topic, and we are looking forward to seeing more research on these issues in the future. Thank you. Okay, we have two more discussion. I have only 17 minutes, so please keep the time of 7 minutes. This is short. Let me introduce Professor Watanabe Yorizumi from Japan, and he's currently a Professor Emeritus at the prestigious Keio University. But he's a professor with a majority of his career as government officers, mostly at the Ministry of the Foreign Affairs. He was the key person of Japan-Mexico, Japan-India, Japan-EU, EPA. EPA is Economic Partnership Agreement. So he has been very influential and capable economic officers at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But now he's serving as professor at the Keio University. So please welcome Professor Watanabe for his 7-minute discussion. Thank you. Welcome him.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon. This is Yori Watanabe speaking from Tokyo. At the outset, I should like to thank very kind introduction of myself to Dr. Jun Young Wook, the chair of this session, and also all the organizers of this Jeju forum. I was very much looking forward to coming and meeting you in person, but I learned only within 48 hours from my departure from Japan that I would need a Korean version of electronic entry arrangement, and that I didn't know that I should do that within 72 hours. So I'm very sorry that I'm still in Tokyo, although all the bookings of the flights and hotel accommodation has been done by the Secretariat. So maybe I would have the chance next year, but anyway, thank you very much. Having said that, I should like to move on to the subject because 7 minutes is very much limited. I'm pressing the button, but it doesn't move. What shall I do here? Excuse me. I have some trouble. I can't move my slide. Sorry for this inconvenience. I maybe try again to show you my slide. I hope that this time it works. So yes, can you see the slide? This is to show the currency market between Japanese yen and US dollars. And as it says, it hit the 24-year low against the US dollars. Today, for instance, the exchange rate between yen and dollar was 143 yen to $1. So the yen has been constantly weakened recently. At the outset of this year, it was something like 110 or 111 for $1. So it's a sharp decline in yen's value. Usually, weak yen used to help the Japanese export. Therefore, it also boosted up the stock prices. But unfortunately or fortunately, Japanese industries have been scattered around in the neighboring countries of East Asia. And very significant degree of the production network has been established, and it is often called the value chain. So unfortunately, weak yen does not help Japanese export. And trade deficit is persistent. Therefore, the weak yen, that pushes up the cost for energy and food. So those are the negative ramification of weakened Japanese yen. And the following this slide, the Japanese central bank looks a little bit stubborn, not abandoning the policy of buying unlimited amount of government bonds with the very low interest rates. So it is really the problem for Japanese economy nowadays. And as you see, the discrepancies has been widened between the US interest rate and Japanese interest rate. So that makes the Japanese yen as well as Japanese economy in much trouble. Now I'd like to show you this. Maybe I should like to hold on a second, please. No, it's okay. I got only 2 minutes left. So I wanted to mention that this could provide very much uncertainty in increased, not only in the region of East Asia, but also in a global scale. So I would think that this kind of tendency, the very high interest rates set up by US or by the UK, that gives a risk of global recession, particularly very deteriorating and devastating effects for the people and the countries of emerging developing economies. So tightening of monetary policy should be, I think, accompanied by every effort to ease boundaries, both internationally and domestically, to allow production to increase without stoking inflation. So in that matter, I should like to mention that there are some existing economic frameworks, such as G20, and also the RCEP, where all of 3 Northeast Asian countries are the members, and also TPP or CPTPP. China is not yet the member to CPTPP, neither Korea, but both of them are keenly interested in. And also we have IPEF just recently launched Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. And there people are ready to start talking about the avoidance of tax evasions, briberies, and that kind of thing. So what Professor Ji mentioned about blockchain, implementing blockchain in trade finance, that could be also discussed. I just wanted to mention, because 7 minutes have gone, so I should like to mention that we have those existing economic frameworks, and we have to make the best use of them so that global recession can be avoided in the face of this very high interest rate endangered by United States Fed and others. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Let me stop here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your keeping time. I talked about the economic uncertainty increased by the American, the monetary policy issues, and the increasing role of the RCEP, TPP, in the Asian framework, and that's very interesting. All right. Finally, we have the last speaker, and fortunately, we have about 8 minutes, and so I can show you about 6 minutes. And we have the Professor Lee Young-jun, professor at the Jeju Halla University, and he has some career in the finance service industry. He worked for the Hyundai security companies as quantitative analyst. And so his research is applying the state-of-the-art technology such as intelligent, the big data, all those things on the finance field. So let's welcome Professor Lee.
Because how can I? Because I'm young, because my name Young says, so I present on foot. Yeah, I only have 60 minutes, but I have 27 slides, so I'll make it quick and short. Okay, as we all know, one of the hottest areas of investing in these days has been ESG. Naturally, we expect great things to come from this movement. On the other hand, there are ESG controversies. There is a controversy over whether it is truly responsible investing or whether it is just a marketing. There is also a controversy over whether it is truly sustainable investing or simply greenwashing. And there are some political issues. There are fundamental flaws in ESG, and that causes this kind of problems. ESG does not provide a cohesive direction for investors and businesses to make the unavoidable trade-offs. There is an issue with how ESG is measured. When I was at Stanford University, I systematically reviewed all literature related to sustainability using scientometric analysis. As you can see here in this figure, the co-citation network cluster figure, in this figure, there are diverse and interlinked fields of study. It's really diverse and complicated. And this current network analysis figure shows topics are too diverse and not cohesive enough to draw one standard for sustainability. Therefore, it's time to rethink ESG. And actually, there are a lot of movements regarding changing ESG. Some are trying to change the name of ESG, or some are trying to narrow down the focus of ESG. So today, I introduce environmental supply chain gives ESG. I want to separate E, S, and G and focus on environment emissions. And most of companies' environmental impact is fed through its supply chains. To solve this issue, companies need to cooperate, such as gears in the medieval era. So let's see some details. Greenwashing. One of the biggest problems that come from the complexity of the ESG is greenwashing. If you don't have a guide to tell you what is good and what is not, it will be quite confusing. And carbon washing. Greenwashing and carbon washing, those terms are actually adopted in the most recent version of IPCC report. The problem, there are too many standards, initiatives, frameworks, and associations, GRI, SASB, TCFD, CDP, SBTI, net zero to race to net zero, RE100, and much more. So this fact is inevitably measurement, reporting, and verification issues. So the most difficult issue, I have only 1 minute, is in the supply chain. Many companies are already reducing their carbon footprints through direct operations and energy use, Scope 1 and Scope 2. But Scope 3 emission is still need to be tackled. 3 tiers are essential for managing Scope 3 emissions: traceability, transparency, and trust. When you heard these 3 words, transparency, traceability, trust, what technology come to your mind? Is blockchain. This can be done by using blockchain, but there are problems. One big problem in this solution is the high energy consumption of the blockchain technology itself. This is the big problem that needs to be solved. But this can be done through technological innovation. Actually, today, there was the merger of Ethereum. This upgrade introduces a new consensus algorithm called proof of stake. So eventually, with this upgrade, Ethereum's energy usage will soon decrease by 99.9%. But the most important part, action plan. Good ideas do not make progress without action. So the gears come. Actually, many large companies are doing well for reducing their own carbon emissions. But the problem is in the supply chain. So they need to be advocates, infrastructure builders, and educators, and coalition builders. And actually, that expression is from Google. I heard that there is here, Vice President of Google to present their sustainable strategy. And that is from the case study of Google. So the problem, last problem, this our region is lagging the world. But we have advanced technologies, so we can solve this problem by cooperating and actually by education from the large tech companies. So I wanna conclude my talk by saying that in a time of conflict, the business community should be a unifying force that brings people and countries together while also finding a way to green the supply chain. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. We don't go by any day without hearing about ESG, but ESG also has a lot of issues. And today he more is focused on the E side, the environmental issues. And in this field, we need also cooperation among the Asian Pacific countries. Thank you so much. And we are up to time, but because we have a little bit break time, so can I open the floor just for 5 more minutes for any questions from the floor to the discussion or the speakers? Any questions from the floor? Okay. You really want to cooperate to keep the time. Thank you. So let me close the session by saying thank you to people from the overseas, Professor Shi and Professor Watanabe from overseas, and Dr. Sonu from Korea. You're all from online, but thank you for your participation. And also Dr. Yoon and Dr. Lee on the offline side. And also all the participants, and have a good day. Thank you.